Hello, all you amazing folks, and welcome back to Intellectual Discussions in 5 Minutes.
Yes, indeed, a brand new episode. I'm sure you're all very excited, right? Anyway, what are we discussing this time, Bobbie?
Today we are discussing the Syrian civil war, ISIS, and the refugee crisis.
Ooh, quite an interesting topic. One that requires all levels of seriousness, so let's tone down the bands for a while.
We should probably begin where it all started.
That would be a good idea.
The Syrian civil war's roots begin in 2010 in North Africa.
Right, with the vegetable vendor in Tunisia. To summarize, in Tunisia, a vegetable vendor set himself on fire in protest because his supply had been taken away. He had no way of paying the fine to get them back, no way to support his family, and a limited amount of time before his vegetables went bad. He had no other options.
This action sparked the Arab Spring, a large-scale movement protesting against the unfair laws in the Middle East. And this vegetable vendor wasn't the only known protester. A group of teens spray-painted revolutionary phrases in southern Syria in a city called Darin.
The teens were arrested and tortured. I know, harsh, but that's the way things are over there. However, some people had had enough of it.
People from all around the area began to protest. Little did they know that this protesting would start a full-on war.
And the protests weren't even violent in the beginning, just peaceful civilians trying to get their message across. But this didn't matter to the Syrian government, and troops began to shoot the protesters.
They even sent tanks, full-on tanks, just because of some protesters.
Eventually, things escalated even further, and civilians began to shoot back. Eventually, part of the military rebelled as well, and joined the rebels, who are Sunni?
That's right. The rebels who are Sunni, while the government is Shia. These are two different groups within the same religion, Islam.
Well, there isn't just one group of rebels, is there? What about ISIS?
Of course, ISIS is a different group of rebels whose goal is to create a caliphate, or a purely Muslim state free of the infidel, meaning anyone who isn't Muslim.
And if that happens, if ISIS takes over the entire Middle East, there's nothing we can do about it. They'll just be too strong. Plus, they have no morals. They're the most extreme extremist group because they will literally do anything. There's a line in every circumstance, and you don't cross the line. ISIS doesn't have a line, yet they've managed to cross it anyway.
Also, to clear up any misconceptions, ISIS did not cause 9/11. This was Al-Qaeda, similar but a different group.
True. That is a rather common misconception, and it is not true. Anyway, ISIS has lost most of its power in Syria, but it still remains a large threat. No countries are backing it, but it is still powerful.
Speaking of countries backing others, many outside countries have taken sides in this war. The three main sides are Assad's forces, the rebels, and ISIS. As previously stated, no one is supporting ISIS. However, Assad and the rebels each have quite a few international backers.
Assad is supported by Russia, Iran, Hezbollah, and Iraq, while the rebels are supported by the United States, the UK, Jordan, the Gulf states, and Turkey.
Yes, indeed. The US and Russia are going toe-to-toe again in a global conflict, not a world war.
Exactly. Anyway, as you can imagine, people don't exactly want to be in Syria at this time. There are a variety of reasons for that, including the obvious risk of being killed, ongoing hunger, the lack of opportunities for children, severe poverty, and the rapidly declining economy.
By that, we mean that Syria is facing severe inflation, with prices increasing and jobs almost completely unavailable. You just can't win.
Well, that's why a lot of people join ISIS, because they have no other way to support themselves or their family.
That's true. Back to the original topic, the Syrian refugee crisis has had a negative effect on multiple countries, to the point where many have had to stop taking in refugees.
Yeah, quite a few never accepted them in the first place. These include Russia, Singapore, South Korea, and several Gulf countries such as Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates.
However, Europe has been a prime location for refugees, and more than 4.8 million migrants have relocated to 5 of Syria's neighboring countries: Turkey, Lebanon, Iraq, Jordan, and Egypt.
The United States and Canada have also taken a number of refugees, despite the fact that Trump has made multiple attempts to halt our intake.
Yes, indeed, but we will not be getting into Trump today. In fact, I think it's about time we wrap things up.
Well, it does appear that way. Well, thank you for listening to this week's podcast. We hope that it was very informative and that you have a greater understanding of the topic now.
Tune in next week for an in-depth look in the science of veganism and if it can be damaging to a person's mental health. But until then, thanks for listening, and we'll see y'all next week.